Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Dori, and I am your host on today's call. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a clinical researcher and an author of several books. Welcome everyone to our product Q&A call with Mr. Clayton Thomas, who is the chairman and co-founder of Root. Hey, Clayton, welcome to the call.
Good afternoon and good evening, or good morning if you're in another part of the world.
Well, we never know who's on these calls. So today I thought that we would talk about mercury in particular, because it is by far the most toxic heavy metal. So Clayton, you think about that while I give a little recap about last week's call. So last week, we discussed the patent claims behind Clean Slate. We learned that it is to be administered to detoxify, rejuvenate, to replenish minerals in the body and in the environment, including also that it also can pass across the blood-brain barrier and into cellular membranes. And heavy metals can include, but are not limited to, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, cesium, strontium, uranium, tin, copper, gadolinium, thallium, thorium, is that how you say that, thorium? Antimony, iron, platinum, chromium, beryllium, barium, methane gases, greenhouse gases, nitrogen, ammonia, aflatoxins, melanine, and nitrosamines, uranium, hexavalent chromium, Lyme biofilm toxins, viral particles. It can upregulate tumor suppressor genes and black mold. See, it's easier for me if I talk fast through that part. Okay, so it can also cause a reduction in biological age versus chronological age when measured by heart rate variability. So this is all things that are on the patent. It can cause improved sleep and dreams by way of the pineal gland detoxification, and by increasing serotonin and dopamine. It can improve collagen and hair growth. I mean, you guys should really see my hair. It's like really long now. My kids are like, whoa, look at mom with her hair. It's like crazy hair. Nail growth, skin renewal, can improve your mood, anxiety by increasing dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. So normally when we talk about heavy metals, we speak in generalizations, but I thought it would be really interesting today to discuss them individually. So today we're going to talk about mercury, and I'm going to, again, just paint broad strokes because we do not have the time to go really deep into the research, but I give you enough information to, make you curious to do some research on your own. And so you're probably wondering, why mercury? Well, it's because mercury is the most toxic heavy metal found in the environment. Mercury is, what I like to say, is the badass of heavy metals, a serious threat to our immune system, which, as we know today, this is like really important to keep our immune system, beefed up as much as possible. And mercury has no known physiological role in human metabolism, and the human body has no mechanism to excrete mercury actively. So mercury comes in three basic forms: elemental, inorganic, and organic. So elemental mercury is liquid at room temperature. They use it in thermometers, in dental amalgams, fluorescent light bulbs, some electrical switches. And it's also released into the air when coal and other fossil fuels are burned. And inorganic mercury compounds are formed when mercury combines with other elements such as sulfur or oxygen to form compounds or salts. And actually, these mercury salts in some countries, they're actually used in some cosmetic creams. Inorganic mercury compounds are also used in industrial processes, basically to make other chemicals. And organic mercury in the form of methyl or ethyl mercury is primarily from fish, sea mammals, thimerosal vaccines. How many of you remember methylate tincture or mercurochrome growing up? Anybody? I mean, I don't believe you, Clayton, that you remember that because you're too young.
You got to remember my research history.
Well, well, I tell you, this stuff was around. I remember this when I was little, and it comes in a little tiny red bottle, and it has a little glass applicator that you pull out. And anytime you got a little cut or a scratch, your mama would just like put this on your your boo boo, your owie, and it would burn so bad. I remember it burning, but so this is a pharmaceutical compound containing 49.55% mercury and sodium. Can you believe that? It was developed in 1927. Thimerosal has been marketed as an antimicrobial agent in a range of products, including this really was, I couldn't believe it. Topical antiseptic solutions, antiseptic ointments for treating cuts, nasal sprays, eye solutions, vaginal spermicides, diaper rash treatments, and of course, the more important ones that we hear of today are the vaccines and the other injectable biologic products. And in the 1950s, every household in the States anyways, I'm not sure about Europe, but they had this little red bottle with the glass applicator in every medicine chest. For every cut and scrape, this is what you would get. And like I said, I remember very well because it would burn so bad having it. And then in the right around, believe it, the 1990s, the FDA banned this product. Can you believe it? Like 63 years of poison being applied topically. So, and then we have, of course, we have the dental amalgams. Historically, they are the major source of human exposure. High levels of mercury are present in marine foods such as liver of lean fish and certain species of fatty fish. And we talked about this one on one of our calls. I remember when we talked about like cod liver oil. That's a real big thing here in Norway. The liver is a filter, and it's there is some toxicity, probably quite a bit of toxicity with mercury. So eating fish is becoming increasingly important environmental source of mercury toxicity. But it's also important to understand that these heavy metal toxicities can be generational. Generational. In fact, some researchers speculate that it can affect 3 or more generations. So mercury has also been documented to damage DNA in humans. So one of the things I thought was really interesting too is that heavy metals, as we know, bioaccumulates, but mercury in particular over time will lower your immune defenses by inducing mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress. And mercury actually has an affinity to glutathione, N-acetylcysteine, and alpha lipoic acid. And these three reduce, because mercury has an affinity to these three, it reduces both the membrane and the plasma antioxidant defenses for your bodies, right? It interferes and causes mitochondrial dysfunction and lowers your immune system. So mercury increases free radical production, lipid peroxidation in all organs, coagulation and thrombosis, inflammation, and oxidation of LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. So it also causes lung, heart, and kidney diseases, but mainly targets the brain. It can also cause damage to nerves, kidneys, and muscles, but it's highly carcinogenic, especially to the human nervous system. And it's very sensitive. The human nervous system is very sensitive to all mercury compounds. So basically, in summary, we can say that overall vascular effects of mercury include oxidative stress, inflammation, thrombosis, VSM proliferation, which is vascular smooth muscle. It basically promotes plaque formation, endothelial dysfunction, dyslipidemia, which is your cholesterol, immune dysfunction, and mitochondrial dysfunction. I mean, there's much more, but I can't cover it all. Yeah, right, Clayton? I mean, there's so much to this. And that's just one metal. I was thinking like every week we'll just take a new metal until we cover most of them.
Well, and I think the most important part of hitting on this one first is, it's, as you mentioned, it's the baddest boy on the block. But research also shows that having mercury in your system actually magnifies the negative effects of other heavy metals and other toxins by up to, I think it's like 5,000 times. You know, and it goes to the points that you were mentioning of immune dysfunction and every other component. And what's really scary, and it's really important to understand, and this has been, you know, the focus for my last 16 years of this part of my career, and it's really my life's passion, that mercury toxicity on its own disrupts every aspect of human function, every organ system, every major system of your body. It is or can be disruptive by mercury exposure. But like Dori, you were mentioning, it's neurological function, it's brain and central nervous system that this horrific metal is most attracted to. It's the worst neurotoxin known to man. Oh, it has been for millennia. And the understanding of how bad this stuff is, and I think it's really important for everyone in our community to understand and to share, of one of the key points that you first mentioned, is that our body does not have the ability to naturally get this stuff out. And having mercury in your system actually shuts off methylation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the body's natural pathways for detoxification are inhibited and turned off just from having mercury in your system. And the worst part is, as you also hit on, we have it from conception. And we've talked about this before, that the cord blood of infants, especially for like you get to work with on your research side on stem cells, the thought initially was, oh yeah, you know, cord cells are the purest. No, they're in a cesspool too. And so it's really crucial to understand that we don't have the ability to get this stuff out. It is the most damaging single metal or toxin that we deal with. It makes everything else worse. We all have it, and we are continually exposed to more of it. And much like glyphosate and some of the other stuff, the other heavy metals, they're called forever chemicals because they don't leave. There's no half-life for mercury. There's no remediation in the environment. It doesn't go away. And if you know
the big
that,
thing too is that people don't really think about it, that it's a problem. And what we're trying to do is raise awareness of what's going on, because like I talk to patients, or I'm not going to say patients, but I'm going to say clients, we'll say clients,
yeah,
that, you know, they're on all these supplements trying to, like, all these antioxidants. And you know, you know what? I don't even take an antioxidant now, because if you're on an antioxidant and everybody has some type of heavy metal toxicity, and especially mercury, those antioxidants they're not going to work the way you expect them to work. I mean, it's like wasting money. So you have to clean up and, you know, detoxify your system with, I always said that clean slate is a foundational supplement. It's like the most important supplement that you could take. And basically by, you know, removing the toxins, you get to reboot your entire system and basically start over again. I mean, your body's an amazing healing machine. It just needs the right tools to do what it needs to do. And your body can take over and do those things. You don't need special diets to do this or to do that. You need to clean up the toxins that you have in your body that you've accumulated over the years. You know, it's like I like to use the analogy of a car, because a car, you know, to run right. Like I remember when I was working on cars back in my teenage years, my dad taught me all about cars. I could do things like, I mean, guys would be totally blown away if you knew what I could do with cars. But anyways, that was back in the day when cars were not complicated with all kinds of computers and stuff like that. But you know, we would go down, you know, like people would add all these additives, gas additives to make the car, you know, do certain things, you know, have a higher octane and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter what you, how much additives you put in, if your filters, if you don't change the filters, if you don't do those things, if you don't maintain, and it's a kind of the same thing, you know, with your body. You need to detoxify, you need to clean up, but this is not like um, any other detoxification program that you've ever been on. So I think that kind of, you know, confuses people too, Clayton. What do you think? Like,
It does,
you know,
because many of the aspects you hit on, and it, I just recorded an overview, just a brief overview on zero in and on the warning label, because people have questions on the warning label, and it goes to most, I will say most of, I won't put a percentage on it, but the majority of the products, of the nutritional supplements that you buy in a store, or that you get on the shelf, or that you order online, or that are referred from someone, from the direct sales industry, the majority of the stuff is trash. It it's not quality, and your body can't use it. So even if you have really good supplements, if you're a cesspool, which we are, you know, from the jump, if you don't clean yourself up, it really doesn't matter what you want to put in. You can try to eat right, you can do all the stuff you want to do with your diet, and the statistics show this, and this is the stuff that, you know, Dori's really good at looking at. If you look at some of the weight loss studies, you know, on the keto diet and even just traditional dieting, all the statistics show that people within typically 6 to 9 months, they'll add anywhere from 15% to 105% of the weight that they lost back on.
mhm.
And you look at that and you go, well, why is that? Because their environment never changed. I mean, fat's a storage medium for energy, but it's also the primary protective medium that your body uses to remove toxins from the rest of your organs and from the rest of your body. And because they'll damage everything else. And if you burn off a lot of fat through diet, through exercise, and you don't address the reason that those fat cells have swollen up to the point that they're big, because when you lose weight, or we won't say weight because that gets into the other part of the conversation, when you lose what you think is fat, you're actually not losing fat. The fat cells are releasing stuff and shrinking again, because the only way you actually lose fat is to do liposuction, right? You don't ever lose your fat cells. Each one of us is born with a specific number of fat cells, but they don't leave. They're there. They might stay really, really tiny and small and not swell up, but they don't go away unless you suck them out of your body. So knowing what you're doing with that stuff, you've got to remove the cause. It's what we go back to: cure the cause. When you know what the causes are, and that's the important aspect of education, right? It's simplicity. We have one cause. This just in: we are completely toxic. We are polluted from conception, and mercury is the baddest boy on the block. It is as much as clean slate is the foundation for getting you well, mercury is the foundation for making you sick and twisted and emotional and angry and frustrated and mentally ill, and go down the list. It's mercury that is the primary culprit in all of this stuff. And that's what's so important to understand. And yeah, it makes it sound really, really simple when everything else that you hear in nutrition and wellness is designed to be really complex. Guess what? It doesn't have to be. It's just a matter of addressing what's really causing the problems, because people try to make simple issues complex so they can seem important and they can sell you stuff. There's the reason our product mix is really simple right now. Two things: remove, get the bad stuff out, and then feed your gut to feed your brain the things we crave. Simple. Where do you want to go?
Well, I see that we have some new people on today, so we've talked a lot already about clean slate, but maybe we need to maybe you want to just kind of go over it, just the Cliff Note version of what it is and how it works, and same thing with Zero In, and then we'll move on to and how these products, basically work with your immune system, and then we can move on to question and answers.
So the key component is like you hit on so many great points. I hope people can remember. But nature provides, right? We've been given everything that we need here on this planet to be what we're supposed to be. And we'll give it the last 400 or 500 years. We've done a really good job of screwing it up, right? Through industry and, many of the things that Dori was touching on, that we've completely polluted our environment and we've polluted ourselves. But nature's always had the solution there. And you have a class of volcanic crystals and minerals that are very, very adept at cleaning up the environment, the outside environment. One of those is clinoptilolite, which is a very unique honeycomb-shaped, negatively charged quartz-like crystal that binds heavy metals, environmental toxins, glyphosate, mold spores, viral particles, biotoxins from bacteria, most of the bad stuff. And, Dori was hitting on a bunch of that earlier. And what's been proven for the last few hundred years or more is that this mineral is very, very unique in its nature. But what's been found over the last, say, 25 to 30 years is how special this mineral, this crystal is, but where it's inhibited. And because it's a crystal and it's a rock, you can grind it into a powder, and it's used in air filtration and water filtration and soil remediation and gastrointestinal benefits with the powdered forms like kaopectate uses a clinoptilolite base. And you're probably, if we're going back to mercurochrome and some of the other stuff, you might remember kaopectate back in the day before Pepto-Bismol.
Oh yeah.
And kaopectate is a clinoptilolite base. It's an antidiarrheal because this cage structure will hold a lot of water, which is why the term zeolite came about. And what the flaw has been of getting this crystal to work systemically, and that's what clean slate is my last 16 years has been spent around how to effectively clean people up using this amazing crystal. And I was really fortunate 5.5 years ago to get introduced to the amazing woman behind me who's got her background in biotech. And we were able to collaborate to create a process that takes this amazing crystal, breaks it apart into, you could basically call nano fragments. They're, small enough to permeate cellular membranes, but large enough to be quite effective in keeping the cage structure together. And so we've taken what nature created to grab onto all this bad stuff, and we made it capable of working throughout your body from your head to your toes and everything in between. And when you do that, just like we've touched on, if you can remove what's causing the problem, well, then everything else comes in line. Because like Dori was hitting on, and it's so crucial to understand, our bodies are made to be amazing. We're made to be self-healing and energetic. And unfortunately, from mercury to fluoride to cesium, strontium, lead, aluminum, arsenic, all of these toxic metals in our environment inhibit us from being what we're capable of becoming. So clean slate is, just like Dori mentioned, the foundation to get this bad stuff out. And once you start that process, there's a couple things that we really desire in life. One of those is happiness, right? We want to be happy. We don't want to be upset. We don't want to be angry. We want to be able to get stuff done when we want to. We want this mental focus. We want our brains to, even if it only feels like you're using more than the 10% that science is showing that we're able to tap into. But that makes you think, if we're only able to use 10% of our brain, why would that be? Maybe it's because, well, you've got these neurotoxins that are blocking neuron communication in your brain that keep us from actually being able to tap into what we're truly capable of doing. Food for thought. But the sibling to clean slate really solves option 2. And it, again, takes into account nature provides. And zero in, I've got a box here with me. This little dude is the greatest capsule you will ever take. And I've been getting a lot of questions over the last week pertaining to this. And here's one important component. This product is not addictive. Let me repeat that. This nutritional supplement is not addictive, but dopamine is the greatest neurotransmitter ever, and it makes you feel and function really, really well. While it's not addictive and it's not habit forming, when you have means of naturally controlling how much and how often your body's producing dopamine and serotonin, it's not a matter of being addictive. It's a matter of desire and saying, I want to feel that good. And that's what zero in does. Is it's basically like making a cake, right? If you combine the right ingredients in the right amounts and you mix them all up and you put them in the oven in your little cake pan, you, in 30 minutes, an hour, I'm not sure the timing, you have a cake that comes out. Well, zero in works the same way. You have these amazing ingredients that are all mixed together properly with the right amounts. So when you take that capsule and you throw it into your stomach and it dissolves that capsule and those ingredients hit your gut, your body looks at that and says, great, I know what to do with this. I can make dopamine and serotonin. And you get those neurotransmitters sent to your brain. You feel really, really good. So those are the two primary components. And then the fun part begins with that, because if you have the ability to remove what's causing most of our problems, and you have the ability to feel amazing on demand, you want to do that, but you probably have friends who wouldn't mind feeling that good too. And all you have to do is share with them. So that's the approach. And that's the reason you're here. Because if this is your first time, welcome. And you're here because one of your friends told you, one of your friends or family told you, you need to come learn about this stuff because it's amazing. And welcome.
Well, thank you. That's amazing. I have to say that I am now on 2 zero in now. So I really love it. It's amazing. And like I say, when I have to look at these spreadsheets with 3,000 columns in them, I'm like, oh, I just go into overload. I take the zero in and like, it's weird. It's like the light bulb just comes on suddenly. And those 3,000 columns, they don't look so bad anymore. And then all of a sudden you just know what to do. And then things start really like, it's just like everything is firing, like on all cells. I love that product. That's one of my most favorite products. And
do you find that time slows down?
Oh yeah,
Or you're
maybe.
press time? Because I had a really busy weekend. So I took my 2-0 in about 6:45 or so on Saturday morning, because I had to go to man school, which is a kind of our men's group for becoming better connected as men, and understanding our spirituality. And I was, I'm not really a morning person per se, especially on the weekend, but I got man school done, had an amazing time there, and then ran 5 errands, was cutting limbs at the house, cut a bunch of trees up, trimmed the bushes, cleaned the pool, did 4 or 5 different things. And as I got through most of the day, I sat back and looked, and like, I felt amazing doing all of this. And some of the tasks that I was getting done were things that, I kind of just put off because it's just, I'm not motivated to do it. And I think what really makes this fun is taking zero in can make the tasks that maybe you don't typically enjoy enjoyable. And because I have our speaker on Saturday was a professional football coach in NFL, not soccer. And he talked about some of the issues that they have with players, that they lack the motivation and to work out. And I'm sitting there going, pick me, because and my kids have seen this. My 15-year-old is having to get up at 5:30 every morning or 5:45 to go to workouts at 6:15 or 6:30 Monday through Thursday. And without his zero in, he wouldn't get through it. He wouldn't be able to do it. But he feels so good that he loves doing his workouts, loves training. He's actually enjoying the process. And I know that without that kick, this would not be a process he would be willing to endure. And that's the beauty of what dopamine and serotonin do, and being able to have it on demand. I don't use it every day. I probably should, but I like to play with my balance to see how my body responds when I'm on and when I'm not on. And it's really important to understand that there isn't the risk of addiction, like I said. And because it's basically eating food, it's not taking stimulants that are actually overpowering your dopamine pathways. And it's not like using illicit drugs that destroy those pathways or override them. You're feeding your body with the specific ingredients it needs to do what it can do when you want it. And that's what makes this really unique and really fun.
I think it's also important to note that this product was 3 years in the making. And it's not just, the stack is so special, the way you've put it together, that it's not just, okay, hey, let's just go get this ingredient, let's get that ingredient, let's just, throw them all together and let's put a product out there. It's not like that. I've taken a lot of products like these types of products, and this one is one, superior by far.
Different.
It's completely different. And if I want to focus on something, the mental clarity and the focus that you get is so amazing. I mean, you just, like you said, you just get stuff done. I remember one time I tried it before a workout, and that was really amazing. I actually liked being on the treadmill, which I absolutely hate that treadmill. But I was actually enjoying it. And the time didn't actually stand still for that time, but it actually went a lot fast. Like before I knew it, I was done. So that was really nice. But I know what you're saying about how it kind of like feels like it's slower because you're doing so much, and then you realize you've gotten so much done. And then you look at the time and you're like, wow, I was really productive. I got a lot of things done. So if you're like a procrastinator and you can't seem to get things done, and you're, hemming and hawing all the time about getting things done, I mean, you take the zero in, it's amazing. Now, some people I've talked to, when they take the zero in, they might get tired. Actually, that happened to me the first time. I actually fell asleep. I'm thinking, what is this? Clayton said I'm going to be focused, and I'm falling asleep all over the place. But then after I kept on with it. And then after about 3 or 4 days, boy, all of a sudden, the energy and the focus and everything. And so it's just like that the whole time. It's
Well, and
fantastic.
it speaks to one of the big issues, like we touched on. I think we touched on it last week with fluoride,
Hmm.
of the calcification of the pineal gland. And
Oh
clean
yeah.
slate is really good at decalcifying the pineal gland, but with dopamine and serotonin, I think a lot of people are, you can say, rest deficient. They
Hmm.
don't sleep well. They don't get restful sleep. So when your body starts to produce some of these neurotransmitters and properly, your body's going to tell you what it needs, right? You just have to learn to listen. And if you need to rest, hey, take a nap. And it's what's really, really crucial of, as you begin to get your body working better. And you can equate it to having an old car that you put some work into, and you get the engine firing up again. It's got to shake some stuff off. You've got to get the carburetor working properly, and that you're not going to go driving 100 miles an hour right when you take the tarp off and you throw a key in it and throw some gas in it and get it started. It takes some adjustment. You got to clean some stuff up, like we were touching on. Your body's got to come in line, and a third of our life is meant to be asleep,
Hmm.
right? So not a bad thing. And we hear, I can't tell you how many times, and you can see it in the Facebook groups on, the results from people that are sleeping better than they've ever imagined. No new pillows, no new mattresses, cleaning things up, and then feeding your brain, and you have the amazing dreams. You're able to start problem solving in your sleep. Your visualization becomes better, and you wake up just refreshed and ready to go.
Hmm.
And who doesn't want that?
For the new people on the call today, I'm thinking that maybe you might want to say something about about this is a passive detox. So a lot of people, it's meant for you not to feel anything. You shouldn't need to feel anything, but we are so how should I say it, brainwashed basically to thinking that we need to feel something, and we don't need to feel anything. So that's the beauty of this. If you want to feel something, you can certainly do that by taking more product and not drinking any water, and then you will feel something for sure. So that's the best advice I think I can give you, is that it's designed that you don't feel anything. You don't need to be in the toilet. You don't need to be chained to your house because you can't leave because you're in the bathroom all the time detoxing. That's not what this is about. So this is different.
And it goes to the pathway, right? This is an inert crystal, right? So it is a volcanic crystal that is this little cage, and it's not metabolized, so your body can't use it, right? So it doesn't get used up in your body, and it's a little scavenger for bad guys, and it'll go in, it'll grab onto everything that it can, and then it'll leave. So the product itself, this little guy, is like Dori mentioned, is very passive in its process. But what happens at the same time, when you start cleaning up your body is going to then realize that it too has the ability to do some of the same stuff. So the way your body is going to start detoxifying sometimes may not be as passive as you expect. You might have stuff come out of your skin. You might flush some stuff out in the toilet that you never imagined at a rate that surprises you. That's not due to what this is doing. That's due to your body dictating how it wants to clean up the rest of the pool. So it's really, really important to understand that. And any negative stuff that you actually experience is actually positive, because it's part of that cleansing process, and it goes away. It's not permanent. It's how your body's adjusting. I had a call yesterday with a woman, and she's like, well, I have diarrhea when I use the product. I'm like, okay, tell me about your history. She's like, well, Normally I'm constipated. Like, well, those are two diametrically opposed situations. And asking her the process, she's like, yeah, I feel like I'm just flushing stuff out. And her cheeks were getting skinny. And she's like, I'm losing weight. I'm like, no, you're not losing weight. You're losing water. So hydrate and let your body go through this and watch what happens on the back end. Because it's just like every other aspect in life. If your house is filthy and you're a hoarder, or if you have a dirty swimming pool, you have to get rid of the stuff. You can't just move it to the side. You got to flush this stuff out. And your skin is your largest organ by surface area, and it's one of the primary detox pathways besides sweat and urine and stool, that you might have some interesting stuff come out of your skin at some points. So it gives you the opportunity to really do some spring cleaning in the summertime now. But it's a fun experience.